Big applause to a world record ocean rower gentleman who is now here with us in the house, Jake Mattock! Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting the invite. Let's take a seat. So I let you talk, intro yourself, and you can tell the story how you and I met, because I'm talking all the time.
Am I going straight into the story of how we met?
Yeah, how you and I met. Yeah, let's do that.
So, hi guys, I'm Jake. We met at, what's the event called? Movers and Shakers.
Yeah, it's like a business travel event.
So I spent a year or so working in like business travel industry, particularly sustainability within business travel, for like a carbon accounting platform to get big companies to care about their carbon footprint from all of the planes and trains and cars and things that they drive. And it was a really good setup for the journey that I did. But there was a Movers and Shakers event for people within the industry. And I went with a friend of mine, Stu, who runs a different type of sustainability platform, who knows Mesi. And we met up at the drinks at the top of the building somewhere in Nine Elms, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So I still go to business travel events because my background is business travel. Like before I did set up my own business, I was working at American Express Travel. And 3 years ago was the time when I left, and that's when I did set up my own business, which also has a banner, but it's not here now, so you can take a look at the other one, the well-being business actually. And so I still end up at some of these business travel events, and then I met Jake there, and I was like, hi, what are you doing here? I've never met you. And then he was telling me this crazy story, which we're gonna go into about his endeavors. And then I just got really inspired because I heard a story about this fascinating achievement and experience on rowing through the ocean, which I never heard about before in my life. And the way, to be honest, with you and everyone here and also who's listening, the way how you were talking about this whole experience and how humble you were with just, talking so chilled and kind and nicely about this breathtaking, like crazy, insane experience. It was really a thing to me. And I'm like, I just really got simply very inspired about the whole story. And I wanted to bring you here as a guest because these events are really about mindfulness, mindset, and mental health. Primarily, although the name is Confidence Club, it's really going deeper and finding that inner positivity and mental positivity inside, which will help to gain more confidence. So that's why I was thinking after we met, I'm like, I think this guy could be a perfect guest to be the first guest in this event series. So that's how we ended up here. And Jake was the best podcast guest I ever had. Like I did podcast recordings before, but never with like live audience. So this was like never done. So Maria Lena, please wave. One of my podcast guests, actually, she's a chief editor of a magazine. We did it in my living room. Yeah, very chilled, just two sofas. Maria Lena and I and Toby wave. Everyone knows Toby. And we did the podcast recording in my own living room, like having a coffee and a tea, and it's really cool. And now it's a very different experience to have like a live audience, so really cool. Because I'm running the podcast now for a year, I had like a few guests. But trust me guys, I never had such a well-prepared, perfectionist guest like this guy. He was like, okay, Mesi, what's the strategy? Okay, how are we doing it? Where are we sharing it? Here are the questions. So I'm going to share questions, and then you're going to do this, and we're going to ask that.
You validated me. I was getting hacked when you were asking me the questions. I was going to say,
And he's like,
what would I say to that?
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, but what will you ask? And I'm like, I don't think, like we just met, so this guy doesn't know me. Like I'm not working from like scripts and slides and like long like stories and scripts that I memorize. Because I tried this approach and it never worked. I don't know how you are guys, how your brain works, but I really learned this. I don't have a paper that I have ADHD. I do believe I have. We have discussions with my dad about ADHD a lot. Now he says, I think I have that too. So we're both improving, exactly. And because of that, I just learned that every time I wanted to stick to a plan and like slides and stuff, I got just so confused because the only thing I wanted to focus is what was in my script. And it just made my brain even more confused, and I was lost. So I do have the questions here, by the way, so that's okay, you are safe. But I'm also going to have my own ones, which probably included in your list. So probably the most interesting question, what everybody would think of, is why? And how did you end up taking part in a challenge, rowing through the ocean? And probably before the why, maybe just summarize for us what the whole experience was, and what was your aim. I know it was connected to a charity action. So what was the whole idea behind of the whole ocean rowing, and then why did you decide that you really want to take part of that?
Sure. Well, where do I start? Well, the journey itself started in Australia, and we rowed 4,500 nautical miles through to Kenya. It took us 71 days. There were 4 of us on a boat that was about the length of that back bench. So we had 2 open rowing positions and then some cabins on either side. And we had no motor, we had no support boat, we had no help. Everything that we had for that journey, we took with us. So we knew that as soon as we left the pontoon in Australia, we were out on our own until we got to the other side.
Sorry, quick one, just to stop you. What was the behind movement of the project? Maybe let's start with that.
What started it off?
Because you joined 3 other guys, I heard.
Yeah.
What was their name that everybody was called was?
Everyone was called Matt.
Everybody was Matt in the team, and you.
Matt and Jake Mattock.
And Jake. So 3 Matts and Jake. So it was one of these 3 Matts' idea to do this, yeah?
Not quite. So I appreciate the introduction, talking about inspiration and things like that. And it's nice to hear, because it's always like a knock-on effect of where I was inspired by someone else probably 8 years ago now. I don't know if you guys have heard of people who have rowed across the Atlantic. That's quite I don't want to say it's a common race, because not that many people do it, but it's more well known and it has an event behind it. So as soon as I heard about that, I was like, that's so cool. I want to do that one day. I contacted the event staff and I figured out how could I start? To be honest, the entry fee was like 25 grand just to enter the race, let alone having the boat and the equipment and the qualifications and the training.
25,000?
Yeah.
To enter the thing.
To enter. And then you need all of the equipment, and I was in debt at the time. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to get to the start line of this event. And so, year after year, I kind of tell myself this story of I'm having the chats in the pub with people of one day I'd like to row across the ocean.
When was this? Many years ago?
This is when I was 22. So this is 8 years ago.
8 years ago, when you first thought about this?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Wow.
Well, this is the crazy thing about it. It seems as I sit here, wow, what makes you go out and do these things? I had deliberated over it year after year as something that I one day wanted to do. And then I think that there was this, a catalyst, or a little cocktail of things that happened at one point in time. So my biggest fear in my life is being what I call a nearly man. I feel like I've done really well at a number of things in my life, but I've never seen things through to the finish. I feel like I was always the person with the school report that's could do better. If he applied himself, kind of rock up, do quite well, get the A's and D's, but just I never really excelled at anything, because I never put in the extra hours. I was just okay doing well. And it ended up just grinding me down, and I was like, I want to see something through. I also struggle with ADHD, and I can fantasize about a new idea, and I'm like, this one's going to be perfect. So I go and chase that for a while, and I was paying for a business coach at the time. That business coach talked himself out of a job after paying him for...
What?
Yeah, for about 8 weeks. We had this conversation. He hypothetically said okay, let's pretend your business has done well. If we gave you 100 grand now, what would you do with it? I said, I'd buy a boat and I'd row across the Atlantic Ocean. He was like, you don't want to be in business, because starting up a business is going to be just as hard. And there's loads of competition. If you get to the point that you're making 100 grand, you're going to need to reinvest it. And so he said, you just need to figure out how you go straight for that thing. And at the same time, my stepmom had a really unfortunate battle with cancer. It started as breast cancer, became lung cancer, became brain cancer, like really quickly. And when those things happen so close to you, you get this like a stark realization of your own mortality. And she's only 50. So you start thinking like, you're never guaranteed tomorrow. The third thing was I then had a conversation with somebody who had rowed across the Atlantic. And he told me that you don't need to enter the race. It's an independent, there's no laws, there's nothing stopping you from just getting on a boat and rowing out into the ocean. There's no laws. Immediately I'm going, okay, that's 25 grand I don't have to pay. And I asked him if he would help me kind of get to the start line with the preparation for everything. And he said, yeah, but on one condition, because he's talked to so many people that do it and most of them are time wasters. He said, if you show me that you have a deposit on a boat, then I'll help you. And so I was like, okay, I have my first step. And from there, I was like, in that moment, I make it like a spectacular moment, but really, you guys probably won't be able to relate to this, but I was working from home in my pajamas and I was like, right, this is it. I'm like changing the direction of my life and I'm gonna like stop at nothing to make this thing happen. And at least I have like the first step. I don't know how I'll get there, but I know what step one is. That's how I started the campaign, and through the ocean rowing community, speaking to other people, I eventually spoke to one of the Matts who owned the boat.
Mm-hmm. He had the boat.
He already had the boat, and this is where I feel awesome to have done it. But you always I'm inspired by Matt because before I joined, he'd already rowed 3 oceans. And then he rode the Pacific.
Excuse me, let's just stop.
And then
this other guy already rode 3 oceans. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't rowed at all, I think, in my life. No, sorry, I was rowing in Hungary, upper Tisza. In Tisza, we have a few rivers there. Yeah, like very basic. I don't think that boats are any similar to your types of boats, but yeah.
Floating down, but paddling, not bird.
Yeah, just like floating, chilling. Yeah.
Yeah, so I met Matt. Had a conversation with him, and initially I was like hoping I might be able to lease the boat off him for the journey I wanted to do. And through the conversation I was saying, I want to do the Indian Ocean at this time, and he was like, I can't give it to you then because I want to do the Indian Ocean at that time, but I'm looking for a crew member. Would you want to join us? And it was like this perfect.
And when was this?
Sequence of events.
When you agreed to do it?
January 2024.
That's when you made the deal, like, okay, you're gonna join.
Yeah. And then I knew that I had to raise a certain amount of money still, but for context, like the race entry fee was 25 grand and a boat costs 100 grand. And then there's shipping and food and all these things. So I was like, I need to figure out how I get my hands on 200 grand worth of stuff to do this. And it just seemed like a more impossible task than rowing the ocean itself.
Yeah.
And so, working with Matt, it meant he owned the boat, and the costs then were reduced by about 75% or so that I could just pay for my share of the journey with the 4 of us.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So I have so many questions, but I'm trying to select the favorites. So one thing which, and thank you so much for sharing the story behind. My question is gonna be related to this one. So when you and I met for the first time, which was actually just a few months ago, couple of months ago, and we had a very first conversation when I just met you. First of all, you were talking in a very humble way about your own experience. What was really interesting that we had a short intro. What are you doing? Who are you? What am I doing? Who am I? Da-da-da. And we super quick just came to this, realization, conclusion when you were talking about how, trying to rephrase. So in terms of mental health, how you felt through the preparation and getting to that point when you were at that starting line. Today is the day when I'm gonna sit into this boat and start the whole thing. From making a decision, I'm doing the rowing, then a year of preparation, 2 years, months?
Yeah, probably 2 years.
2 years of preparation started until the point when you guys kicked off the whole thing. So what we talked about at this first time when we met was that, and you told me this, that people think that confidence comes when like before you do anything. And that's why I love the name of this club, and I love to rephrase this, that confidence is not something we were born with or something you were born with and you felt immediately ready. Oh yeah, I'm so confident, I'm just gonna roll through the whole flipping ocean, which you've never done before. And I never thought that I'm gonna do events like this. I never thought that I can run a business in another country, because I'm from Hungary. I'm gonna do talks for hundreds of, or maybe even thousands of people in another language, which is not even my own native language. I had absolutely no clue about these things. And what we mentioned in this first conversation was really fascinating, that you told me that when you were at that starting line, you felt in that moment that that's the moment of kind of like being ready. You haven't even started the actual rowing in the boat, but through that whole time, and now you said 8 years, yeah, from the first thought, then making a decision, then meeting the guy, then 2 years preparing, and you're gonna talk about how you prepared for this insane experience. It's also very fascinating to me. But during those 2 years, like day by day, preparing mentally and also your body to getting ready to do this whole thing, that was the moment when you feel like, you know what? I'm absolutely ready now, and I feel like confident this is happening. And that's when you have this feeling of, I have arrived. You haven't even done the whole journey. You haven't even done the rowing, the thing, the craziness of it. You haven't been to the BBC. You haven't been here. Yeah. By the way, he's been to the BBC. But that moment was your moment, and you felt like, I have arrived. I'm ready. And this is exactly what, like, very similar experience what I had. I haven't rolled through the ocean, but still like breaking, you know, our own limiting beliefs and breaking through all these crazy negative chatters in our minds, which limits us and stops us from just thriving and being better and feeling better and calmer, are these moments. So very, very inspiring. And when you said that, I'm like, I like this guy. He's gonna be my guest. So maybe let's talk about the preparation, because that was really fascinating, what happened during those 2 years, as well as the actual rowing. So yeah, mention a few of the highlights, which was, I think, as a standalone experience, also already fascinating.
Yeah, so I think the people often talk about the value being in the process rather than the event itself. And this, well, the event was awesome, a great experience, but I definitely felt that where the row I felt like was more like the final exam, and the preparation to get there. How do you go from being the guy in his pajamas at 1 o'clock who's never run more than 10K in his life to the man that can confidently row across an ocean for 71 days, 2 hours on, 2 hours off, until you get to the finish? That's a daunting task. And I think the difference between like confidence and hope and
wishing and wanting.
Wishing and wanting. You know, confidence, the breakdown of the word from Latin is confidence, which is with faith. And the way that you build faith, I think, is by like sowing the right seeds for the type of things that you want to harvest at the end of the day. And so I knew I needed to build resilience, I needed to build endurance, I needed to build courage, I needed to build determination. There was only things that I hadn't, those muscles that I hadn't exercised yet, that I needed to gather. And I didn't want to turn up at the start line having not really had any of those experiences. And I couldn't row an ocean in preparation either. So that was kind of difficult. What I did was I set out some other challenges to warm myself up to it. So the first one I did was a marathon out in Norway on a frozen lake, which was fun.
I'm sorry, how many people have run a marathon? I have never run a marathon in my life. Can you please, like, Marius, don't be too shy, come on. Okay, so one, that's great, no problem, guys. I think we are still valuable people of the society, so don't worry. But can we just point the location of this marathon?
Yeah, somewhere on a frozen lake in Norway.
Frozen lake in Norway, okay? Like, I mean, I was like, he told me, so I'm like, what? Like, how? Like, in what shoes? Like, you know, like my mom used to say, come on, don't run, it's icy. Like, and this guy goes there and does it. So, a marathon over there.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, and I think in hindsight, it's not more difficult than running a normal marathon. The thing about ice, in particular a frozen lake, is there's no hills on a frozen lake. So it is the flattest. No hills.
No hills, okay.
No, it's the flattest marathon that you can possibly run. So it like sounds impressive. Like, yeah, I ran a marathon on ice, but I literally ran the flattest marathon ever.
Okay, it's still a big deal, okay? Like, don't downgrade it.
But I think that the major thing that I learned was obviously I had to build up the endurance just to get to the point that you can run the 26 miles, which is one thing. But it's going into an environment in which like I had no idea what to expect, where I'm going, what shoes should I wear? Should I have spikes on my shoes? Should I not have spikes? Like, is it slippery? I'm asthmatic. Is the air gonna really like hurt my lungs? What am I gonna do about all this? Should I wear a jacket? Should I not wear a jacket? Should I bring whiskey? Should I not bring whiskey? All these different questions that you have in your mind. And then you turn up on the day and it, like I said, it feels like it wasn't harder than any other marathon. The terrain was slightly different, but it wasn't like polished ice that you'd see at an ice rink. It was pretty gritty, shardy ice. And so I learned the preparation for the challenge, but then in hindsight, you kind of get this thing of if you are prepared and you put in, I practiced running further than the distance because I was nervous that I might not cover it because it might be difficult because it was on ice. Practiced in cold conditions. And then on the day, it turned out like, oh, it actually wasn't harsher than I expected it to be. So,
and the other one, the very, very other crazy one as a preparation?
Yeah, and then I went to climb the Matterhorn out in Switzerland. I'd never climbed a mountain before either, maybe Pen y Fan in Wales. I don't know if anyone's been out and hiked up that one. Yeah, nails, well done you guys.
You did? You did?
True.
Yeah, depends which route you take. Nice National Trust hop. It's quite easy than this other one.
Nice.
I don't know about that. True explorers, love it. And so, yeah, I went out to do the Matterhorn because I wanted to experience something that would be difficult in an environment where, you don't know what the weather's going to do, you don't know what the mountain might do. The things you learn from, like, you get the beautiful scenery, and that it probably was my favorite challenge, I've got to say. Like, being out in Zermatt, like, you're in this bowl of mountains, like all 4,000 meter peaks around, and then the Matterhorn is just like stunning. But we went up to climb this mountain. Unfortunately, like, on the day, or the night before, you stay in this hut called the Hornli-hut. And
what's that?
The Hornli-hut.
Which is?
It's a hut at 3,000 odd meters that you stay in, and then you wake up.
Oh, like a house, like you.
Yeah.
Hutte.
Like
I think it's a hutte.
houses. Yeah.
In my language.
That one's actually a pretty nicely done one. It's basically like a hostel with bunks and things like that, and water costs like 20 euros. And there was no one there. The week prior, my guide was talking to one of the other guys who was there. There had been a death, and it was actually a guide who'd been killed because his client had slipped. And what happens on a mountain like that, because you have to get up and down quite quickly, you're not clipping into the mountain at a lot of places. You're tethered, so we would have a rope between us, and you would do the hard part first, and then you kind of anchor yourself and wrap around a rock or something just in case I fall, but you've got to make sure that you're anchored. And then I go, and then you carry on in that sense, but clipping in and clipping out would take you too long. What had happened was the wind was loud, and the client had looked like he'd made a signal to say he was anchored, and he wasn't. The guide had started to move, the client slipped, and it tugged the guide, and he went like falling 70, 80 foot to his death. And that was like just before doing it, and I've never done anything before, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like it is real in this environment, like these things do happen. And then it was like it was out of a movie. The clouds come around the hut, the lightning, the rain start thrashing it down. And I'm like, oh my God. The guide has a conversation with me, and I can tell he doesn't think it's safe to go up the mountain. And he's trying to do me a favor, like I paid him money, so he doesn't want to say like you can't do it and like have that conversation about refunds or whatever. But there was a window, and we decided that we could go up as much of the mountain as we could and enjoy it. But once we got to the point that we felt like if we carry on, we might get caught in the weather at the top. There's no one else on the mountain at this point. Like, it was empty in the end of the season. We had so much fun climbing the mountain, and I had moments where there was a sheer drop behind me that would have been 100, 200 feet, and I'm holding on to, like, it was pretty stable, but if I took a step backwards, it was the end, unless Nino was like well anchored in his part. And I felt weirdly confident in my ability climbing. So actually climbing the mountain, I wasn't too fussed about. But as the weather came in, the wind got a bit faster, and we decided, like, okay, we've reached about 4,000 meters. We're gonna have to turn around, which was an ego hit for me, because the whole point I was doing this thing was to not be a nearly man. And I was like, oh, I've made it to like 4,000 meters. Would like a not nearly man convince the guide and get to the top and be the hero? Or do I come back another day, the mountain? Like,
And still call yourself a hero. Excuse me.
and so on the way down, we hear this like cracking, and the Matterhorn is falling apart. It's so sharp, and with global warming, the ice at the top is thawing out and, you know, expanding and contracting. And when you read about it, the thing that causes the most fatalities is the rock fall. And I was so scared in the moment where I heard the rocks crunching and falling down the mountain.
That's insane.
I was like, get me out of here.
And you just climb and you do these things, like in a movie.
Yeah. And it was those moments that I wanted to put myself in before going on the road, because then it's like, well, there's so much I can control in training, being as fit as I possibly can, knowing about the boat, you know, getting to know the team. But there's so much of nature that you can't control, and how do you stay calm in the environment when you're out there? And it was nice to have something where it was a 2-day expedition up a mountain, where I was like terrified at what nature falling apart above me, but I could get out and kind of like decompress from the situation before then going on to the row. So I geared up that way, and through doing it, like the process was what I really enjoyed, because I'd been to so many places, and as you do in the introductions, you kind of say what you're up to, and like, I'm going to do this marathon, or I'm going to climb this mountain. You end up having so many chats with other people that have done their adventures, and I just like really enjoyed the conversation, and then ended up getting invited to do a bunch of trail runs and an ultra marathon, and I was just like, oh, I'm in shape, I can do it, well, let's go. So I ended up like kind of doing a few more things on top, just because I kind of got in the circles with people and felt like I was in the condition to do it. So by the time I got to Australia, I was in as good condition as almost as I could possibly be, but there were delays in the boat coming out, which started to get to me a little bit, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Where it happens.
But still you felt ready. That's good. We can share some nice footage, guys, on the internet, where you can see pictures of these nice 4 gentlemen and how they looked in the actual boats. I must say that you mentioned very fit. I must say that, yes, I agree. You guys all looked very fit, which is a good thing. So I actually used those interviews when I invited my network and connections. Side note. So let's get into the actual experience. Yes.
Yeah.
I have two questions, but I thought I'm going to ask one, which is probably everyone is mainly really curious about. What was the moment, which was something absolutely unexpected? The craziest, the toughest, the hardest, the one that when you felt like, oh my God, I am not sure whether I am gonna make this, because I know that was one moment. And the second one is about how this whole thing and the whole journey affected your own mental health and self-belief and confidence, basically these topics, but we can go into that after. So first, maybe the one, and I'm sorry we don't have the video here, but I share the link with you guys in the follow-up email, because Jake has been invited to the BBC as well. So you gave an interview at the BBC, so good. I am trying to keep up here with the BBC, but yeah. But also there is like videos which you just shoot like really at home, in which you like he did just a few shots which you shared on your social media, LinkedIn, when he explains like these crazy moments, and then he's doing like a narrative and an explanation after. Like it's crazy. It's like yeah. Anyway, I'll let you describe the whole experience. And we can crack on after.
Nice, yeah. So I've done a little part 1, 2, and 3 on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to see it, they're about 10 minutes each, and they have some of the footage of what actually happened out there. But I think what Mesi's referring to is on day 60. So
60, so nearly the end.
Yeah.
So 71 days was it total?
Yeah, and like it didn't feel like nearly the end, apart from nearly the end of my life in this moment. Like, it was. I had so much confidence in the boat. We'd been rocked from side to side. We'd seen huge waves. We'd been like attacked and thrown, but it takes so much for this boat to tip. And we'd had a night where throughout the journey, we were 2 hours on, 2 hours off. And then in the night, we were 4 hours on, 4 hours off, so we get a bit more sleep.
Sorry, just one thing. 2 hours on, 2 hours off, meaning?
We drove for 2 hours. And then you would eat or rest for 2 hours, and then you would row for 2 more
And then
hours.
for the 2 hours, like the other 2 does the job.
Yes.
So it's like
We just keep rotating,
rotating, never stopping.
never stopping. The only thing that would stop us is if the weather outside was too dangerous. So we would then retire into the cabins, and we might put out a power anchor, it's like a parachute underneath the water to stop us from being pushed away from the waves, and to keep the nose of the boat angling straight towards like the crest of the wave so it doesn't hit you on the side. But this evening, the weather was pretty crazy, but the waves were kind of pushing us in the right direction. So we didn't want to put the power anchor out because it would slow us down. So we were like, oh, we'll let Mother Nature push us west. And
Which seemed to be a good idea at that point.
yeah, it was working pretty well. And the shift was starting at 6 a.m. I'm there at about 20 past 5. You don't really get into a full deep sleep at any point, but I'm sleeping, and then we just get hit by a train and the boat is spinning, and it was just the most terrifying experience ever. I don't know how big or perfect this wave must have been to hit us, but I went flying from one side of the cabin to the other, smashed my face on just the wall, I guess, the roof, and I could feel then the weight change as my legs go over my head. We spin, and like the power of the wave and the force of everything crashing down on us sounded like thunder on the boat, and I thought the boat was just going to rip apart, or I was going to hit something again and just see black and just never wake up. It was just such a crazy experience. And I turn around to one of the mats, Taff, at the time. We're looking at each other like, are you all right? He's like, you're all right. We're like, yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so I start getting my harness on because I'm thinking, when's the next wave coming? We've got to check on the other guys, check if they're all right. I'm like doing this as quickly as I can. I'm like opening the door, hoping there's not a wave coming.
And you also felt like maybe the water's gonna come in and it's just gonna,
there was so
like
much
the
water
Titanic
already.
thing, like it's gonna just flood it. And
So we had a top hatch, and there was a bit of like a running joke throughout where Mason, the captain, was telling us off for leaving it on what you call vent. So there's closed, which is sealed, and then there's another handle which you can close it like this. So if it's like raining and blowing a gale, it's not going to blow open, but there's a vent. And we liked it on vent because it meant we got air in the cabin. But Mace was like, you need to have it shut. And on this night, we actually had it shut.
oh, wow.
But the front part was on vent, and that was at a different angle, but so much water got in, and just like all of our food that we had, all of our gadgets, all of our clothes, everything was just like all over the cabin. I'm bleeding from the face. We eventually opened the door, and the other 2 guys opened the door. Ingo had it looked like Wolverine had scratched him across the face. He had like 3 lacerations because he'd hit the gimbal, which we would boil our food in this. Well, we'd boil the water, which we'd pour in the food, and it would tip with the waves so that it wouldn't spin. Wouldn't spill. And so, yeah, he hit his face on that and it just gashed him and he was like bleeding a lot. But we were just really glad that everyone was like conscious and awake and no one was in the water. And really quickly, the guys got together and we finally put that power anchor out, which was then pointed us into the waves. So we were like safe. But that was like a real stark realization of like, we are out here with no help. And at that point, we were about 1,000 kilometers from land. And when we were in the middle, we didn't see boats for 30, 40 days. Like we didn't see any wildlife. There was just nothing out there. It was like barren, just horizon, never ending, just rowing into it like constantly and so much water.
Sorry, the stupidest question. Did you guys have Wi-Fi there?
No.
That's such a basic question, I think, from anyone.
We had like a powerful device and that we could get out and we could like find a satellite and it was really slow at sending stuff.
So if something happens, like that night, like you are really in trouble, what's the plan B? Like what's going on?
If we had Wi-Fi, if something happened, to put it in context, like a speedboat will go 25 to 30 knots or something like that. A tanker will go like 8 to 11 knots. And where we are in the middle of the ocean, if a boat is more than 100 miles away, or 80 miles at 8 knots is going to take them 8 hours, and they've got to turn around their tanker. They've got to decide to come and get us. So if you're in need of help in the next 30 minutes, you're just not getting it. And you're probably not going to be in that location in 30 minutes. Like you are so on your own. And that was the realization where I was like, oh my God, like if we needed to call for help. I started getting closer to land, day 61, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm still like, we're still 100 miles from land. So if we do need help, like it's going to be 12 hours if we're in the water. Like you can't.
Can we clap just for this experience? I mean, what is this? For me, it's like mind blowing. And watch the videos on LinkedIn, because like you actually took like the strength in the middle of the whole thing, and you like did this documentary video, like when the actual thing happened, like it's on the video, like you're bleeding and the guy's there and it's like craziness. And yeah, so I'm like, just purely surviving this, I think already puts your mindset into a slightly different place about things, life, yourself, like overcoming this as well. So thank you for sharing the thing.
But more stuff broke as we were getting
go on.
into this. We brought spares and things like that. Oars broke. We had spare oars, which was good.
Sorry, everybody knows what an oars is? I didn't know. Would you mind explaining just for the non-natives, like my dad? In Hungarian, he would know what an oars is. But do you know what? No. So yeah, just
an oar is the paddle for the boat. So an oar is one paddle. Oars are multiple paddles.
Like this.
So these are the things that we use.
Sorry, to translate. Thank you.
Nice. And they got broken by the waves, or we lost them because a wave would take one away or break the...
And you had spares.
You had spares. We had solar panels, which would power our water maker, which desalinated the salt water. But we also had manual ways of doing it. So we had a pump in case that broke. And we had a secondary generator.
How great that you need to roll like all day. And I'm thirsty. Okay, let's work a bit more to pump water.
Yeah.
I mean, you would just want to take a break now, like from the thing.
Yeah, totally. And we lost one of the GPS trackers in that capsize event. And then when we were about a day out, so probably 50 or so nautical miles from land, the strangest feeling happened. You know when you ever parked your car and the car next to you move and you get that like, what is happening? Like you think you're going backwards all of a sudden.
Or like when a train is moving and you're like, who's moving? Like what's going on?
Yeah, because you can only sort of tell what's happening like relative to what's going on around you. And because we were just in this never ending blue and we're always going west, everything looks the same all the time. But the sun just went like, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it was the steering that had broken, like something had got into the hydraulics, so the rudder had blown, and we all of a sudden the rudder couldn't steer us in the direction that we wanted to go. So the sun moving was us turning in the wrong direction. And again, this is me just feeling like, I don't want to be a nearly man, and I've come like 99.9% of the way. We can't like break down now, like what are we gonna do? And Mason had just like every backup going. Everything had a manual backup, and he had ropes attached to the rudder, so we could manually steer the boat. But it meant that now we'd gone from rowing 2 hours and having 2 hours of rest to rowing for 2 hours and then sitting on the top of the boat and steering for an hour and then having 1 hour rest for the last probably about 36 hours. And it was fun at first, like having something different.
That's a new thing to do.
Like, I want to be in the cabin.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I think I probably found that like an accomplishable task to like, yeah, I can do this. I mean, mentioning the fact that you can't really see anything else, just blue, but yeah, but I can imagine. I can only imagine that it must have been, you know, after a certain point, you just want to rest.
But we had the
have a
excitement
break
of like getting close, and the weirdest thing happens is that before you see land, you actually smell it. So it was like
really
woody, earthy, burnt kind of aroma in the air, and I was going like, what is that? But Matt, who had rowed multiple oceans before, he's like, that's land, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh, when you sense this is on and you didn't know what it is?
Because of the curvature of the earth and how low we are on the boat, even when we stand up, like we can't really see more than 5 or so miles. And so unless something is really high on the land on the other side, we're not going to see it. And then as day turns to night, we then had the lights from the city. We could start to see the pollution and like that glow. We were like, well, either 3 moons are about to rise or that is like city lights. So we just get that excitement of like, we are getting close. And even though I'm knackered, like that's kind of pumping through your body of being like, we're getting so close to land. So that's kind of what kept us going at that point. And I was starting to feel like, we're getting kind of close enough that even if something happened, I could maybe swim.
Yeah, and you're gonna make it anyways. Wow, it's fascinating as it is. Okay, so maybe one of the last questions, and maybe the most interesting or exciting to me personally. I don't know how you guys feel. The actual physical experience is fascinating as well, but as a connection to the topic and the atmosphere of the events what I run around mindfulness, mindset, positivity, and mental health. What was your, maybe pick one thing, what was your biggest learning, what was your biggest teacher during the preparation years, or also maybe from the moment you decided I'm gonna do this and then 8 years passed, that's like a long time. When I decided to run my own business, now I can say I only had 8 months, but I can relate to that preparation time or period when you really have a strong thing in your mind. I really want to do this. I know some business owners are sitting in the audience. Exactly. Hey, Amy, come on, hands up. Who know what this means to absolutely go against the comfortable, go against the mediocre, like go against every single negative voice in your head, and telling yourself, shut down, shut up. I'm gonna go that direction because I decided, and maybe I don't believe that I'm gonna do this one day, but at least I try. So that period is, I think, the biggest teacher. And of course, when you're there and when I'm on stage, I do the talks, and then now you like talk about the whole experience, like helping people, inspiring, teaching. That's like really the beauty of it, and somehow like the fruits, after. But I think that period is probably the most fascinating, because that's the period when you are still in the limbo. You know what you want to do, and probably everyone in this room has something which really lights you up and makes you smile, and you wish if you were alone on this planet you would do more of that. Yeah, nutrition, yoga, yeah, I know a few of the fun stuff you guys love to do. But still, somehow you have this voice in your head which makes you feel really uncomfortable and questions you every single minute. So big up for everyone following the dreams and taking the action and going, the extra mile and putting into the energy. I'm going to ask you the very last question. But before that, I just saw recently like what was it, like an Instagram thingy, which was, anyway, it just related to something similar, that what makes entrepreneurs unique, or people who really follow the dreams unique or different from everyone else or from other people, is that they literally just don't quit. Like, because I think most of us know what are the things leading to the goal, yeah? I want to lose weight, I want to feel better, I want to find my perfect love, I want to change this, I want a better relationship with my parents, I'm not talking to my dad for 20 years, and I know it would be nicer to talk to my own father, but I'm not doing it just because we had a flipping fight over whatever, and nobody remembers what the fight was about. But yeah, it's just like that for 20 years, so let's just, carry on like that, because whatever, we don't care. But we do actually care, and these things absolutely destroy our mental health, our thoughts, our beautiful heart and spirit, and these are not good for us. And I could say and go on a few more examples, not just of family disputes, it's so many. But the difference is that you know exactly how hard it is, but you keep going. And I think we all have the idea, we all have the thing we want to change or level up or whatever, but we somehow, when the voice is louder, we just stop, right? So I think what differentiated probably you and your journey was that you just never gave up. From the moment 8 years ago when you had the thought, and whatever happened after in 8 years, yeah, so much, you were talking about it. But the unique thing was that you never quit, yeah? Maybe you did other jobs, you traveled, you this, you did that, but there was one thing you still kept in your mind, you had that thing, the direction. So yeah, I think that's fascinating, and big up for everyone for following your dreams and what your aspirations are, and also just simply for being here, right? So I always talk about yes, and then this guy was rowing through the ocean, and then entrepreneurs and business setups. It's really the small things in life, yeah. It's maybe you will start off with mindfulness. Maybe you call a friend you don't talk to for many years. Maybe you really managed to change the diet, maybe for just 1 week. That's success. That's already one step ahead than you used to be. So we should really celebrate we call it small wins. I don't like this thing. I rather call it the 1% rule. And I think what you went through in the 8 years, that was really following maybe the 1% rule, that you keep going and you kept having that one thing in front of your eyes. Inspirational talk from Mesi. So yes, please mention what was the biggest learning and the biggest teacher and the biggest thing. What was your takeaway from the whole journey?
Can I do my cheesy one?
Yes.
And then
you can even share multiple ones. Yeah.
I'll do a cheesy one and then my personal opinion. So the cheesy one is that one of my favorite personal development mentors is Jim Rohn, and he has a saying which is, you can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. And I love the thought of instead of focusing on having the thing, focus on becoming the person capable of having the thing first. And the learning that I had is that it takes a certain amount of intensity to break through a threshold. And the way that I think about it in my mind is, ice becoming water or water becoming steam. If you warm up water without enough intensity, even if you dedicate time to it, so this is what people will always talk about, is consistency and discipline. If you turn up every day and you do it, that is good. But if you don't do it with enough intensity, you will just warm the water and it will never change state. You have to put in enough intensity and sacrifice enough so that you make the state change. And then when you're in that new state, you've gone from water to steam, the laws that applied to you when you were water no longer apply. You're in a whole new world now, but you do have to break through to the next state. And then you're in a whole new world, and you can feel what it's like when you have done that. So that's my cheesy one.
Can I say one sentence before you go into the next one? I loved how you phrased stepping from one word to a next level. What is my lineup sentence on my new website with this club? Step into your 2.0. Exactly. So now that you guys are here, you already in your 2.0 version, which makes you feel already leveled up and stronger. Change. So well done. So keep going.
And then my more philosophical one is, my personal learning and my personal opinion on this is knowing the difference between fulfillment and success. I probably chased this journey hoping for fulfillment, because I did the corporate thing, working in sales, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to go and do something in nature and I felt like I'd be more fulfilled. I think when you are chasing any goal, if it's measurable, you can reverse engineer it, you know when you've done it, you're chasing success and you'll never know whether you're gonna make it or not until you've finished it. And the feeling that will be attached to it is a sense of achievement. And that is certainly a worthwhile endeavor, but the difference, it doesn't matter if you choose to run a marathon or if you're going for a promotion, if you want to deliver something on a project or do something in a relationship, if you do it, you will get a sense of achievement. Whereas I think if you're looking for fulfillment, fulfillment is less of a science and it's more of an art. And it's something akin to a dance, which the point isn't to get to the end of it. It's the twists and the turns, the fast parts, the slow parts. It's not about getting to the end, it's about being in the process and not attaching any finishing point on goals to it. So as soon as you start doing that, this is where people get caught up in going, oh, if I change my hobby into my job, then I'll never work a day in my life because I love my job. But you start attaching goals to it, so you stop feeling fulfilled and you start feeling a sense of achievement. You're like, where's that fulfillment going from my hobby? And I think that's probably the biggest kind of internal learning for me, is to kind of try and keep some things to be goalless and just have them because I enjoy learning the skill or engaging in the practice or whatever it might be.
Wow, that was very inspiring. So just relating to that, before the closing marks, first of all, I loved it. Very, very inspiring. And what I wanted to say as a quick note is that I can also relate as I go through my business and stepping into my third year with Treat Your Stuff, whoop, whoop, is that when I developed my business, I thought, oh, I'm going to be very successful and I'm going to feel really good if I have 5 clients. And I'm like, now I have my business card, I have my website, what's harder can be, right? Setting up your own business, great, so clients can come. Oh, well, it was a bit hard because clients didn't really just pop through the window. So I'm like, oh, I need to work a bit harder on this. And then months came, weeks came, and then months came, and then the time was passing by, and I'm like, where are those 5 clients who wanna make me feel really confident and good and less uncertain every single second in my entire life? And it took much longer than I anticipated. I thought, I don't know what I thought. I have no idea, but I thought I decide on Monday, then Tuesday I'm a millionaire because I run my business. Well, whatever I thought, it was really insane. And then slowly I realized that, no, my shit, it's not weeks, it's not months. And then I turned 1 year with my business and I was still not a millionaire and I still didn't have shitloads of clients. And I'm like, maybe it's gonna be a bit harder than I thought. It's really funny to share actually this story, guys, because some of the audience is actually working with me right now and with my own business. So now, Daisy, like we have like literally a strategic well-being plan with Daisy. So thank you for coming. Treat Your Stuff, and Amy is our nutritionist. She's also running programs for the business. But yeah, literally the story, I guess you guys are familiar how I started off. And then you realize that exactly what you refer to, it's not the end goal. It's not when do I become a millionaire, when will I have 5 clients or 10 or 15 or 20. It's the actual process, and as they call it here, like the journey. And when you are able to stop and tell yourself, okay, I'm very busy with climbing, I climb, I want to be higher, better, bigger, richer, blah, blah. And then you say, you know what? Just stop for 1 second and turn around and look at how far you've come. And I don't know if we do it often enough. I don't know how many times you guys stop and say, you know what? I really believe that I deserve this. Well done. Because we expect this well done from our parents, from our colleagues, from our bosses, from our loved ones, from our spouse, from the, I don't know, husband and the wife. And if they don't give it, then we have a good reason to blame everyone. You are so bad to me because you are not telling me what I deserve, my beautiful soul. And you guys all make me feel so bad. No, let me tell you, the reality is you make yourself feeling actually a bit uncomfortable and bad, because we have the power to tell this and say this, look into the mirror and say, well done. And we don't need to expect this from anyone else, yeah? Because you can look into the mirror and tell yourself the same thing, and I can do it for myself as well. And of course, we like boost the positivity together, but that's a good thing to level up. But at the end of the day, we really have this power. And to be honest with you, I didn't really get to this point before I actually started this well-being business 3 years ago. I was living completely in a different planet, probably where you were living before.
In the boat.
You started the whole living in a boat, yes. Before you started your own
rocky,
your own journey. So it's like I find it fascinating. The more I'm in this business, the more I learn about myself, and the more I grow, and I realize that it's like I can still live in victimhood and start blaming people around me and in my environment, or my parents. They didn't do this, they didn't love me enough, or whatever, blah 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 blah. But it's like at the end of the day, now we are adults and the whole thing is in our hands, right? So we can change that. You guys can come to these events and learn and grow and be better and get inspired. And really, one of the big goals of this whole community, and I love that you are you're the very first guest, by the way, is that to be the community where we meet like-minded people who we feel they are very similar and they want to level up, they want to actually take action, right? Other than, I don't know, reading books is nice, listen to a talk like this is nice, but really taking the daily action and applying my 1% rule is all up to us and all up to you, right? It's in our hands. It's the real action, which is going to cause like results and like really leveling up. It's in our hands. So I think that was the talk. And again, thank you so much for accepting the invite. You are now the very first guest. This is the second event we are doing, the Confidence Club. So really, really excited to have it. We also did the podcast recording now. Maybe I should say thank you everyone who was listening today and tuning into to the podcast today. Maybe a very big applause to Jake for coming here. Thank you.
There's no laws, there's nothing stopping you from just getting on a boat and rowing out into the ocean. There's no laws. So I was like, wow.
Oh, maybe we need to move a bit.
So then I was in the middle of the ocean.
Exactly, this is how it feels in the middle of the ocean.
Day turned to night.